next week and go back through this, because these are the items that we were able to identify that would go into here, and I just want to make sure that they're, but since you were the one that brought that forward, that there weren't things that we missed. And so, as we're learning to use this tool, we just want to make sure that we're getting all of the right pieces of information in here. And so, if in the next, before the next board meeting, if you have an opportunity to sit down with us, we can review those, and then we can bring another update to the next board meeting on June 4th.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Well, this, because originally when I brought this forward as an accountability progress report, which the board did not support, I had asked that we put, and I know the board didn't second it and wouldn't support it, but I was suggesting that we put all our approved expenditures on there when we approve expending funds, and I said $25,000 or more, because actually this was my worst nightmare, is this is not an accountability progress report. It's actually one of the most minimalistic attempts I've seen to record what it is we're expending. So I don't even see it as a meaningful document when I looked at it. And I say the original concept that I wanted to bring forward was the idea that we really would document our approved expenditures. And here we have just a couple of items for just large amounts of funds. So I don't see this at all as a meaningful document at this point. It's certainly not an accountability progress report. So I would start reflecting once again, myself as a board member, on returning this concept to the accountability model, because that is not what this is.
And if we were bringing back anything that was over $25,000, Mr. Richards, it would be pages and pages of documentation, because many of our agreements and most of our agreements are over $25,000. So I think what the board was trying to give us is a template around accountability, but with items that had some magnitude to them. And so again, we do want to make it a worthwhile document. So we'll sit down with Mr. Everhart to review any of the criteria that we missed in putting this together.
Well, I may come forward with another proposal, because it is not comprehensive whatsoever. It really does not serve as a public document.
Oh,
This minimalistic. And that unfortunately there were so many conditions layered on it that became kind of a bureaucratic mire instead of just a simple, straightforward accountability tool. And that's what I had first envisioned. Now it's kind of a bureaucratic mire of regulations and restrictions, so it's unfortunate that it took that turn.
I did copy and paste the docket, which we provided direction on. In addition to the opening statements, the board agreed that items that would be typically excluded from the report are actions to hire employees, actions to enter into food service contracts, and actions to expend facility dollars. Hiring an employee as well as food purchase agreements are tracked very well in our budget and do not require progress tracking on this report. Most facility improvement decisions receive bond oversight committee review. The board and the public receive regular progress reports on facility expenditures and facility improvement progress. And as outlined above, the board can always place any item on the progress report by board action, and that's what we all agreed upon. For myself, I wanted to review what we had committed to, and I'm glad that the superintendent and Mr. Everhart will be reviewing it. Perhaps you can provide an item or two that you would like to have tracked from the document as well.
Well, and again, I think the intent of this, when I first thought of accountability, the intent was for us to have a single document. I understand what you're trying to justify, Mrs. Mayo, that there are other avenues for that tracking, but I was looking for a single document that would really be a viable public record of what it is we're approving at these board meetings, and a follow-up in one consolidated tool. And the more restrictions you put on, the more bureaucratic it becomes, and the more minimalistic it becomes, and the more meaningless it becomes. So I still think that this is not panning out right now as an effective, meaningful tool. And I don't think it will be an effective, meaningful tool with this number of restrictions on it. So that's why I say I would look to come back. And as I did not support this sort of restrictive document. I was asking for one that was far more comprehensive, and it asked also that we try this through December of this year as a way to see just how unwieldy, to address that concern that some people thought it might be unwieldy. So I think what we have now is not a meaningful, it's, as I said, it's not an accountability tool, it's just a stripped down small documentation of a couple of actions, and I don't see that as comprehensive, I don't see that as meaningful or as an accountability tool.